That's odd.
What does it mean waiting?
That's really odd. YouTube is just being weird. I don't know. Oh, there, I think I got it.
Yep. I guess it just needs refreshing.
Maybe. Think we got it? No. All right. Yeah, that was pretty weird.
Alright,
Yeah.
cool weather brought in some bad internet.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Is it windy outside right now?
No.
No?
Not really.
Okay.
Just getting chilly. Like,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a possible frost.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't frost, but a light frost I think at this point would be somewhat okay. Cause
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably just gonna be a light frost.
well, the peach trees, the peach trees in my yard, they bloomed, and there's cute tiny little peaches on them, so that means they can handle a little bit of frost now. It's
you got peaches on your trees already?
when it you can get frost when the blossoms are open. That kind of ruins the crop.
Okay. Because my blossoms are open right now.
Your blossoms are open right now?
Some
Really?
of them, yeah.
Oh. That's not great.
Well, it's out. I mean, it's affected me before when we've had a frost at this time. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
So, back when I moved into this area, like almost 10 years ago, first thing I did is I planted a peach tree. In fact, I bought it before I even. As soon as I knew I was going to move, I bought a peach tree. And then it arrived, and I put it in my garden where I used to live, and it just stayed there until I had a chance to move it. And I don't know if it was the next year, it was like 2 years later. Oh yeah, for the few of you that are still hanging here on YouTube, call in the chat for jersey of your choice on the Dynavap website. There's some pretty cool ones up there.
Somebody said I was seeing some about the hockey. You got a hockey one there, huh?
I don't know if there's a hockey jersey.
Is there not
on the site right now?
Somebody was saying something about it.
Yeah. A colon or a semicolon? Pretty sure it's just a regular colon, like the other ones that you see in the chat.
We did have a bunch of scattered storms yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if it all goes well, we'll be doing jersey orders a few times a year.
Yeah, we have. Definitely got to order.
I think it just goes over pretty well. It's so fun to wear, and it's even more fun when you connect with someone that you never met before, but it's just pretty evident that we're kind of on the same wavelength, and it kind of makes breaking that ice really easy. At least I feel pretty confident that if I walk up to someone who's wearing a Dynavap jersey, they're probably okay to hang out with for a bit.
It's a pretty good indicator.
I think it's a pretty good indicator. So your peach tree's blooming right now. Because
Yeah.
I can remember wrapping my peach tree. The first time it bloomed, it wasn't very big. It was maybe 7 feet tall,
Yeah.
the highest branch.
These are quite a bit taller than that.
I actually got some really thin plastic like used for masking off like walls and rooms when you're painting.
Okay.
And I wrapped the whole thing
Okay.
with this little plastic bubble. And I put a space heater inside of it.
Really? That's pretty funny.
And then I took we had this little thermometer thing that we'd attach to the side of the house. So you could just see a little display in the kitchen to show you what the temperature was outside. Well, I took that and I put it inside my little bubble. I kind of, in one of the, on one of the branches in the tree.
Yep.
So I could just look at the thermometer in the house and I could see how warm it was inside the little bubble that I made for the tree. And so it made it through the frost and I got my first peaches off of that tree, which is super fun.
Yeah, somebody said too, it might be, if it's not too bad, it'll be just maybe wanted stress.
Wanted stress.
Yeah, stress can be good for harvest. I've not seen many of the beetles in the last few years, so I've actually been able to get some harvest on my fruit in my yard. Those beetles were so bad.
They were so bad for a while. Wow.
Yeah, I had yellow socks and little huts for them to collect in, to keep them away from. And then I couldn't get grapes for like 3 years because they would eat those first. Yeah, they just destroy the grapes. Last 3 years though, I've been getting like 3 different types of grapes.
That's cool. I don't have any grapes right now.
I got some green grapes that are like really tasty.
Yeah.
Yep. Of course, they're all seeds. But
so
yeah.
Seeds are actually good for you.
Well, I think it actually has a different taste to it with the seed in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more something flavor to it.
There could be
the seedless grapes kind of have. I mean, don't get me wrong, they vary, right? But
it depends on when they're picked too.
Yeah.
Because when you can pick fruit when it's actually ripe,
ripeness is ripeness is, and there's just not a massive window.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I know with peaches, it's like there's one day that's the best day to pick a peach.
Right, and it's like just right before they'll even want to fall off.
Yeah.
But that's another way I indicate picking my pears is if you just kind of like touch them, they'll kind of like twist and fall off on their own, and it's like, oh, I was ready.
Okay, looks like we got a winner for a jersey on YouTube as well.
Let's go.
So for anyone that didn't win a jersey, if you would like one coming your way, the way we're doing this is a pre-order because there's a lot of different potential sizes and a lot of different styles, and they're actually really nice. They're also kind of pricey, so we just can't buy a whole bunch of them in inventory, all the different variations and sizes. Right. So this is a pre-order where you're going to order it, and we're going to aggregate all the orders, and then Monday night we're going to place that order and get everything in, and it usually takes, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks for everything to get processed and then come in. And as soon as they come in, we'll get them packed up and ship them out to you. Unless you happen to be in the area, and you can stop by and pick it up, which is kind of fun. Yeah, I'm a big fan of all the various different ones.
The color on that is just
it's just
incredible.
super fun. I just really like it. And there's one that's just like super psychedelic too, just all the good colors. Some people know us better than others, but I like that. Yeah, you can send us a message to teatime@donavap.com if you got any questions. Be happy to help you out.
Okay, I have actually a list to give you.
Oh, do you?
Of pre-orders.
Oh.
So.
Well, that's cool.
From our last event.
Okay. Well, it's time to move on that.
Perfect.
What else is going on this week? It seems like, graduations are kind of like in swing now.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people's summer travel is kicking off.
I've mowed my grass twice.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't mowed grass in a while.
Yeah, this last one, the last 2 days was quite long. And it had been less than a week. So there's that period of time every once in a while the weather's right and
sometimes
it looks like you skipped a week, but you actually are less than a week. It's kind of that's how it was the last couple of days. And then I have a lot of trees to mow around, so
new motorcycle for the summer, huh?
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah. But for me,
I always wanted a dirt bike. It was just not something I ever.
It just wasn't my thing. I was concerned I was going to end up breaking myself.
I was having a plastic lightsaber battle on a one wheel today with my son.
Nice.
Yeah, we did that for a long time.
That sounds like an amazing thing to do.
Out in the yard after we mowed.
Oh yeah.
It was very, very fun.
No, in fact, there's so many things that are just fun to do on a one wheel.
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. I was just doing things.
Yeah. I feel like I can get more work done.
Oh, I think so. Get work done and then challenge the mini challenge of can I stay on this while I grab that? Can I, you know what I mean? How about taking this over there with it?
Yeah, that's fun too. Is really push that balance boundary.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like a little game inside the game, and it's always helping. You're always getting a little bit better balance.
Yeah. So having issues with machines breaking from it, it's probably been somewhat resolved, but what variation we want to come back with, that's what we're working on. We want to bring you some cool titanium stuff back, that's for sure.
Oh man, like some of them colors we had back in the day. I remember the original green one.
Oh man. Huh. I think I might have figured something interesting out yesterday and today.
It was like a soft green. I remember that. Ah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, pretty super cool. Titanium Nanavon would be cool. That sounds like a great idea. Maybe that's what we should do. Red is difficult.
Ooh, red.
Yeah. The only way to get red is, for the most part, via some sort of synthetic route.
Right. Otherwise, wouldn't it be more of like a pink?
Yeah, so red's a color that is generally not achievable through an anodizing or a duradyne or a heat treating process. Pink, yes.
Right.
Yellow, yes. Orange, yes.
Blue.
Blue, yes. Sometimes even green.
Purple's actually pretty difficult too, right?
Purple is way more easy to get than red.
Yeah. I've not seen red.
No.
I've seen it coated. Like you said.
Yep. So we can get red with powder coat or paint. But that's about the only way. Silicone, that's doable.
How could we get a red wood?
Well, red was not even that red.
No, I know. Is there a way that we could make the wood red?
You have to use a synthetic means like a dye or a paint or a pigment or a coating. Yeah. Red is not a simple color to achieve. And I'm not aware of there being a red PVD either, because PVD, the colors from PVD are largely created through similar processes as some of the colors that we can get through Duradyne and or anodizing.
What is PVD?
Physical vapor deposition.
Ah.
It's a really neat process where you put objects in a container that has very little air.
Yep.
And then you take a material that you'd like to coat those objects with and you evaporate it. And it then condenses on all of the surfaces in that chamber.
Okay.
And provided that you don't have too much oxygen is normally the chief component that messes things up.
So if there is no oxygen, I'm assuming it's a very well-looking paint job.
If there's not a lot of oxygen, then what happens is that coating adheres very, very well to the
very
object.
Even.
If you've got a good, clean object. And then you got CVD, which is chemical vapor deposition, which is a process that's also used to synthesize diamonds.
Okay.
Which is pretty neat. Yeah. Aluminum can be color anodized, and you can get red on aluminum, but it's not because you've turned the metal red.
Why would?
It's because it's been dyed.
Why would that change his cap to one click?
It's changed cap to one click.
I tried to anodize my Hyperdyne regular cap and it only clicks once. Now I've only found out after the anodization process to damage stainless steel.
That could do it.
Interesting. So it possibly stuck the disc up, maybe too.
Yeah, it depends on how aggressive a pre-treating etching solution that you used, right? Did you ever were you a science teacher at some point?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I do love science.
I do like science too.
It was my favorite time, being right next to the burner on the table.
I wouldn't mind occasionally teaching a science class. I think it'd be kind of fun.
Oh, it'd be so cool. Yeah. Just to keep attention, you just got to be really hands-on. Just got to do stuff, and that just gets people interested.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be doing something fun.
Yes. So for aluminum, when you anodize aluminum, which is a similar process to anodizing titanium, the aluminum doesn't change color. It just stays silver colored.
Interesting. But titanium...
But titanium changes color depending on the voltage that you anodize it. Aluminum is available in a broad array of anodized colors because partway through the anodizing process, they introduce a dye, which then gets trapped into that layer of effectively aluminum oxide that's formed on the metal surface.
Interesting.
Which is why you can get so many colors for anodized aluminum. Yeah, the funny thing about the caps, right? The little thermostats inside the caps are kind of a marvel of modern engineering. And they're rather sensitive to various things that can change the calibration of them. And you're right there, Char. The titanium doesn't change color, but the thickness of the oxide layer, or the nitride, or the combination of oxide and nitride compounds that forms on the surface based on the voltage in your electrolyte or the temperature of the environment that you're placing it in determines the color that you're perceiving.
And there is a change on the surface, right?
Well, it's more like a refraction type thing. So when you take, for example, a prism, triangular shaped piece of clear material, and when you shine light through it, it breaks up the light into a spectrum,
right?
And you can see that reflected on surfaces. Well, the oxide layer, especially when you're anodizing titanium, is more or less transparent. Okay.
Okay, so that effect
but it will break up the spectrum to some degree.
Interesting.
And
okay, and that's the reflection you're getting back.
And so that's the perception of the color is as the light goes through the layer, bounces off the shiny metallic surface and comes back through that layer, it shifts the color just a little bit.
So why can't you do that with aluminum?
It just doesn't work the same.
Doesn't work the same?
No.
It's fascinating. It's just I mean, aluminum is definitely a different consistency.
Yep. So there, little chat about anodizing and oxides and nitrides and all kinds of
that was
cool
very
compounds.
Good. I did not know that that's what was happening with the titanium. It was more of a perception thing.
It's neat. The process that we use for the Duradyne finish that we put on the Hyperdyne and on the Unidyne actually is a little bit different. Requires a little bit more surface energy, and because of that surface energy, we can create some other more interesting titanium compounds that have some really nice characteristics, like ridiculously good wear resistance or scratch resistance.
Right.
You'll get on your Hyperdyne or Unidyne. It's not that it's scratch proof, because there's really not many materials that are, but
it's gonna take you
it's
hard time
pretty resistant to scratching. And I think the colors hold up pretty good too. So yeah.
Not to mention that heavy duty cap. I was gonna say, even though these are what you said, sensitive.
Yep.
I got some really old caps that are still clicking.
They still work?
Yeah.
They work a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to get on top of the whole Dynavap anniversary thing, and of course I keep procrastinating on it because I don't know.
We should write something down about it.
Need to do it. Should do that. I hope that we can do some more Blackwood woodwinds. If we do, it's probably going to be somewhat limited, because that wood is kind of difficult to deal with.
It's so pretty, but yeah, I mean
it likes to crack.
Which is it's fun, because when it's together, it's probably the strongest. But it's before it gets together.
Yeah, it's pretty strong once we get them all assembled.
Right.
A range of low temp accessories. What could you be a bit more specific there, Evil Ash? Yeah, kind of interesting that they actually use diamonds to polish diamonds.
Well, what else could polish the surface of a diamond besides itself, right?
There aren't many materials that are harder than diamond. Not many at all. But the interesting thing is there are examples of materials that are softer than harder materials that can still wear away the harder materials. It just takes a long time. Gonna sell the blackwood woodwind stem separate.
Blackwood. I mean, we could
maybe
possibly get something done.
The thing is, they're just such a pain to make, and the fallout rate is kind of high. So I'm not saying no, but I don't know. We'll have to see if we can come up with. An even lower temp cap. So the thing about caps that are even lower temperatures, you can heat closer to the groove and it gives you a lower temperature in your oven. And I'm not saying that this is the only way, but it's so far been enough that most people can still kind of get exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah, my problem is whenever I go any lower than that, I'm just wasting either batteries or fluid. Because I have experimented with just like, okay, well, I want to make this last 8 clicks, not 4. And then I'm either running really low on my lighter fluid or I need to put my wand on a charger. Because there's a balance to it for me. I don't know. But definitely any lower than that is just only for a tiny taste of what it's going to be. You're just barely heating it up.
Okay. Fail rate of blackwood woodwind during making. Yeah, it was all said and done. It was probably 50%. So a lot of blackwood that just didn't quite get there. And yeah, water jets usually use an aggregate or abrasive, and garnet's a pretty common one.
Is that's going through the water with the water?
That's in the water.
Okay.
So use the mass and the kinetic energy of the water to accelerate tiny little hard particles that basically grind their way through that surface at a very, very high velocity. The water coming out of a water jet is coming up really fast.
Yeah, there was something on YouTube I was watching where they were using ballistic gel hands and putting them through the water jet just to show the damage of what it would do to your hand.
Yeah, it goes through
it
it,
was
no problem.
So gnarly.
So
because it like rips your hand out. Like it went through, but it made your hand like veer off. It made the jig push out. So something like, I don't know, something split.
Well, there's a lot of energy there.
Right. That's kind of what it was.
What do you think about it?
So much energy that it kind of popped the hand out of the jig.
Yeah, you can cut through granite.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. It looks so.
It's just really
so
neat.
Cool to see. Yeah.
Really neat. Fancy word for wet shot blasting. which I think it'd be a little bit different because, shot blasting, you're trying to cover a large surface area versus a water jet's a very, very small surface they're trying to cut. Yeah.
Sandblasting's also satisfying.
Oh, it is. So it's power washing.
Yeah, power washing.
Yeah. And I did see a comment about the EU site. It's a lot more difficult than it might seem to maintain inventory across multiple websites, remote fulfillment centers, etc. When we're talking about large distances in between, and just staying on top of all of that. Of course, then you got your shipping, and you got taxes, you got duty, and it's a not insignificant logistical challenge just to pull it off. So, as much as I'd like to have a complete replica of everything that we have on our dynamap.com website, on some of the other websites like dynamap.eu, it'd be, I don't know, at this point it's still a little bit of a challenge, right?
Not unachievable though, for our future.
And if you got ideas and thoughts in terms of how to improve on that, I definitely want to hear it. Just send me a message to teatime@dynamap.com, and maybe there's a solution that we're just simply not aware of yet. So. Shipping is just not like it used to be. So, anyway. Would I consider making a first-party Australian website? Possibly.
I haven't noticed the coding to be any much of a change, other than it's hard not to think though that one color is actually working different than the other, because the variations of the caps are always slightly off, and that's probably what you're seeing, is that the blue cap is just your favorite heat to click ratio.
Yep.
Because I have myself like 5 different caps, and I can tell you that one of them clicks just a little more sooner, as soon as I want. There's one in there that'll click a little longer, so you're kind of like worried that you might be going a little too far, but it just takes a tiny bit longer to click.
We have received feedback in the past about the colored caps behaving slightly differently than the non-colored caps.
Would that be?
And
would there be a
is
reason?
it the coating, or is it we'll call it what the cap had to endure during the coating process?
Interesting.
Okay. Because, during some of the PVD processes, they happen at elevated temperatures. Okay.
And that's with the disc pre-installed?
So, for the most part, we have had our caps PVD coated after they've been assembled.
Okay. Interesting. So,
one of your caps doesn't heat with the wand. Now that's
one of my caps
interesting.
Doesn't heat with the wand. Is it metal? Is it the right cap? Because it's got to be metal in order for the wand to activate.
Well, but not just metal. It's got to have enough mass.
Mass and metal.
And it's,
Because I have had my Dynavap work with no cap, so that metal is enough.
Yep.
Without the cap, so.
Yep.
That's fascinating, though. Would there be something reflective on the cap that would be?
I don't know. It could be the wand that's just a little bit.
Yeah, move your insert down in the wand a little bit, and don't block the sensor. That might help.
Well, we're working on that there, Bumpkin. There, we have done it before, and there will be more, just EU exclusive items. So it's coming. So we're with you. All right. Well, I know I've got a few more things I gotta attend to before I can call it a night tonight. Yep. So that being said, thank you everyone for joining in tonight, and I hope you have a good week. We'll connect with you next week.
Absolutely.